The alcohol category is so weird and nuanced that it's really important to get the whole picture of the entire journey.
Not a lot of people do that, especially branding agencies. So let's start there. If you haven't yet, we had a great part one with Mike, the owner of Hyperblast, on the inception of Hyperblast, how he came up with the idea, the kind of thesis and vision for it. So go definitely check that out. There'll be a link in the description below. Today, we want to talk about, now that you've decided to go to market with Hyperblast, what was the actual process like to create your own alcohol beverage, right? No, not a lot of people do that, especially branding agencies. So let's start there. You've decided, okay, we're going to go all in on this. What's like the first stop? Like, who do you call? What do you do? What was the first step for you?
I think that's part of the reason why we even wanted to do this project in general is most branding agencies, almost all of them, even creative agencies, won't do something like this. And that's a lot of what our work ultimately is. We do a lot of innovation strategy and liquid strategy for medium to large brands. So we really do have this deep expertise within our studio in BevAlc. So we really wanted to not only do this for ourselves as our first ever incubated project under Tavern Labs, but also use this to show folks like how you actually do develop liquid and bring a product from idea to life. It's a long, windy, iterative road. To answer the actual question you have for us, it starts with concept, right? It's identifying the white space within the category, which we talked about a little previously, knowing that there's this white space within the energy alcohol category that really no one's owning it ever since the original Recipe for Loco got banned. So understanding that. And then we took that concept and that idea. We had an idea of what the world was going to be. We're working with liquid developers to come up with what's it going to taste like? What's the base formula going to be? Is it going to be malt or is it going to be vodka based, neutral, what we call neutral grain spirit, but essentially vodka based, like a Cutwater, or even something in between those, which is essentially what a beatbox is. So we worked with Jai Development out of Greenpoint, who have done tons of different beverage development work, really working with another small studio that iteratively develops flavors, products that are recipes, essentially, that scale into how you take this to market. So we worked with them, and it was kind of like a design process. If anyone's ever gone through that from branding, we brief them, we tell them roughly what we want. They come back with a bunch of questions for us, and you go through kind of 3+ rounds, and we change that over time. The fun part about doing the liquid dev is each one of those rounds, we either go there or they'll send us samples, and we have just a bunch to taste from. So it's kind of like multiple directions in a route if you're comparing it to a branding or design round of work. And so we took our entire team and we're developing and we're writing detailed notes on what we're liking, what we're not liking. Where can we tweak, elevate flavor, downplay sweetness? Is the yerba mate a little too intense? Because it's tea. Tea gets heavy and intense at times. And these are all the conversations we're really having. So through that, we're pushing. And that process lasted roughly a month and a half or so. In tandem with that, we're developing the brands. And it's pretty much parallel. But we have an idea of what that brand's going to be and where we want it to go. We knew we wanted to play very much in this like 80s, 90s, high octane jet ski world. The product is high octane. It's 12% ABV. It literally is energy because it has 75 milligrams of caffeine in it, but it's that all natural kind of like crunchy version of the 1980s. So really playing with that, but spiritually we want to be rooted within that 80s jet ski, neon, bright, high octane energy world. That was really our spiritual home. So knowing that as we're developing the liquid that goes into it, we know that we want it to be intense in flavor. It should be delicious. And that world helped us as we were developing, because round one, we were just talking about flavors that we thought would make sense paired with yerba mate. As we went through this and we were designing packs and exploring what that brand world is starting to look like with Swipe and developing other creative design touch points, we started to realize, oh, there's another element that we can add to this from a flavor perspective, but also a storytelling perspective. And that was really that we basically torched all the flavors. So you have grilled pineapple, torched lime, charred mango, really bringing in that burnt flavor element that feels right for the brand and the vibe that we're going for, but it also has an added bonus to what those flavors are that further differentiate the product from the rest of the category. So not only are you sold on some of the other RTBs, the ABV, all natural, that it's sweetened with monk fruit when everyone's sweetening it with crap, but you also have this like charred, torched element to all of the flavors that's with just a hint of smokiness. That then was a real challenge in the later rounds as we were developing liquid, because if you ever smoked something or were trying to get a perfect char on a different food as you're cooking or baking or whatever, it's really hard. That flavor intensity goes from like 0 to 100 very fast. Jai helped us a lot with that in many iterations of really finding that balance so that you get that subtle smoke to the flavor, but it's really like 10%. It's not overpowering. It's like when you have a deliciously charred or smoked pineapple on the grill, basically, where it's like just right, but it's not the overpowering flavor. That's the real magic of that liquid development. And then testing it with just tons of people, like trying it with friends, colleagues, and everyone in the office, obviously, really seeing what others are picking up on and finding a balance within that. So it's a lot. It's a lot of like triangulating opinions, aesthetic, concept, and really like trying to get to the center line and really land the plane ultimately. But I think we did a great job with it. It's super, super delicious. I feel like we were looking at it the other day. We did like 62 tasted iterations of it, just insane pushing just to nail the first flavor. It got a little easier from there, but landing that plane's not easy from scratch. And that's the fun part of building this, but also the hard work of making sure that it connects to the product and that consumers are going to like it.
When should branding start?
It's like literally in parallel. When we work with clients, we essentially do work with that way, right? Like often when you get an innovation brief, you start with, we like to call them dig sites, general territories in which you think you can win. For example, energy alcohol would be one of them. And there might be multiples actually as you get briefed, and you got to dig into 2 or 3 of them and see which one's viable. Where is there room to play? Is there white space even as you double click into those territories? Going back, there's no liquid then. You're just understanding what general space it's going to play in and work within. And the liquid's either being developed on the side by a big brand or an own brand. So they're often doing this work in silo, in parallel, saying, oh, it's going to be XYZ flavor potentially. Oh, it's going to be malt-based or spirit-based. So you're building the plane as you fly, even as you innovate with clients on projects that are briefed, because it just has to be. So yes, each one informs the other, and doing it ourselves, we had far more control and we knew what was happening at all times in this conversation, which made it even better, I think. And I think landed us in a better place creatively, but also in a better place from a liquid perspective, because we did have control. We were able to say like, oh no, let's tweak the liquid real fast, and we can tweak the design to match it and see if it actually works in real time, versus when you're with clients, you're working and it's siloed and they have to call the scientists or their developers. And then we get on a call and it's just this whole belabored process. Just that it is what it is. It's no big deal. It's just nicer when you have full control. That's also our pitch as well to new clients for Tavern. It's bring us into these conversations early because it helps inform the design. And I truly believe we're an agency that is deeply expertise within BevAlc. I think that you need to be so ingrained in these conversations, whether you're actually developing the liquid or not. I don't think that's super necessary from a creative agency, but I do think people who have that deep understanding of how that gets developed, why choices are made, because some of the choices suck sometimes. For example, if I was a large company and I was trying to scale this rapidly and wanted to win within a specific marketplace, there's a good chance that we would have made this malt-based, which would have killed half of the concept. It would have worked for one version of what that go-to-market would have ultimately been. It would have worked in many different states, for example. There's all these like technical nuanced reasons of why that could work and why maybe we should have gone into that area. It's that expertise and understanding of the category, of the market, of how this comes to life in consumers and even how it reaches consumers that I believe your creative agency needs to know as you develop this, so that you can react and they can design for, but also help you navigate and think for those reasons. We obviously went on spirit space for our own reasons. It's a longer play. We think that this is totally winning and going to disrupt our specific competition set that we've set for ourselves, which is the Cutwater, Buzzball, Beatbox, hard tea, lemonade, and some malt space within the convenience store. We think that this will win. It'll be harder in the short term, but better reward in the long term when this actually takes off. So we made our choices that are convenient for us because we're the agency and we own the entire brand and get to do this ourselves. But understanding all of this, again, is super, super crucial. And it doesn't really make sense that that would be so crucial to make the design. Logic will tell you, like, no, I'm running the business. You go design this thing I'm asking for. The alcohol category is so weird and nuanced that it's really important to get the whole picture of the entire journey as you develop these products.
How do you approach beverage packaging design?
I truly think that you eat with your eyes first. Of course, the designer is going to tell you that, but it is, from a behavioral science point of view, true. There's a reason why there's photographs or illustrations on menus. There was a study years ago where they studied cocktail menus that had illustrations of the physical cocktail of what you're going to get versus just a menu with all words. And it's just telling you what the cocktail is. Obviously, the one with the illustrations did better because you're persuading the consumer to know what they're going to get. They know what they're expecting, and then you deliver them this beautiful cocktail based on the illustration you gave them. So if you apply that logic to a can, you really need to evoke the sense of feeling of what they're going to experience within that liquid from a design perspective. You have to evoke what the liquid's going to ultimately give you and achieve. But at the same time, you have to evoke that brand world that you're trying to live within. There's this tension naturally. And I think the biggest part about this product specifically is there's so many regulations within the alcohol industry, and increasingly so in a lot of CPG. We wanted to create within the energy category. We wanted to bring out the energy alcohol. And without overtly being able to say that, you have to evoke that semiotically at the same time. So that's a real big challenge ultimately to do. And it's a lot of design work that will get you there. Our type is italicized with stripes in it, so it feels fast. It's developed off of old racing, old jet ski vernacular, but it's a lot of the motocross racing, speed and aesthetics from the 80s. Those stripes are almost emblematic of Sea-Doo graphics and personal watercraft graphics from the 80s and 90s. But at the same time, it's very similar to what the original F1 logo looked like, where it's like fast speed to a single line. Using this vernacular, these semiotics of other fast motorsports speed categories, bringing that into the design, it's helping connote the energy and the high octaneness of the liquid itself in the product. But it also does that same thing for the world and the visual identity that we're trying to bring into and hopefully engulf you in our hyperblast world.
How do you stand out on a crowded shelf?
If you look at the RTD shelf, you have a lot of flavored malt beverages. They're all skinny cans. They're all white or gray. Everyone's going to the lowest common denominator of like simplicity and whiteness. It's getting really boring and dull. I know why brands are doing it. They're trying to prove that they're more all natural, or that they're real juice, or that they're 0 calorie, and white semiotically cues like 0 sugar, 0 calorie. Maybe you're getting that across from your liquid reasons to believe, but it's really neutering the category as a whole and really making it boring and dull. The classic marketing, if everyone's going right, you got to go left. That's truly what we're doing, but we're going like super fucking hard left. It's the complete opposite of that. Fuck your skinny white cans. We're going to make fat, big cans. We're going to jack up the ABV on it. We're going to make them dark. If you want to be analytical nerds in a room talking about what's delicious and what isn't delicious, dark black is not a color you would most likely use ever. But we took that and we balanced it with really bright, really vibrant, which is cueing indulgent in a really tasty, delicious way. And then balancing it with silver as well. Black and silver give the high energy, high octane vibe. And looking to the non-alc energy category, Monster, Red Bull. Monster's black with bright colors on it, right? And then Red Bull is really elevating the half the pack is silver substrate of the can. So using semiotics and the codes and cues from the energy category, we're applying them to our alcoholic category. So we're really stealing from what's been winning for the last 20 plus years within that space and what consumers already know of that, and then actively rejecting what everyone in the RTD category is doing. All of it really gets this product that is new and really goes that super hard left when everyone's going right.
How do you get people to try a brand they've never heard of?
So I believe, and we've been doing tons of work within the RTD space, both in spirits-based cocktails and FMBs, flavored malt beverages, which is your White Claws, et cetera. Over the past 5+ years, we've really shifted when we're working on new to world, but even when we're working on existing brands that have been in the marketplace for a decade, what's really winning is variety right now. And there is data and numbers to support that. People want variety. I think from a new to world brand who you've never had, just hitting you with one flavor is super tough. You want to try a bunch of them. I do think it's a fun experience for the consumer. They get to try multiple things. It's really fucking hard to get someone to buy 4 different 6-packs over the course of a few months to try my product. That's why the variety really works really well. If you can hook them into buying one thing, you ultimately get your liquid to lips across all your flavors. The variety pack really delivers a tasting flight, but also can easily convert you long term. From a new brand perspective, who's not trying to make essentially 5 different SKUs, so 4 flavors plus a variety pack, which is a lot of inventory, a lot of shelf space that you're just not fucking getting as a young brand. Distributors are taking chances on you just getting onto the shelf. You got to show up small, and you got to really, really be effective within that small facing for your initial run until this really picks up steam and people are asking for it and distributors are actually stocking more and more on the shelf. So leading with a variety pack makes the most sense strategically. You get more flavors out there, more liquid to lips just naturally from the product, but you also are hopefully recruiting consumers to like more and different things. And then you can slowly introduce individual flavor packs as you start to block the shelf. The other thing which we are focusing on, which not a lot of brands do, is we're really focusing on the convenience store and in singles too. Leading with singles, and hopefully later this year, getting into 2 different sizes of the singles, the 16 ounce, which you see behind me, then the 24 ounces with the resealable canned lid. They're huge. They look like gas tanks. Perfect for Hyperblast. So we want to lead with convenience because it makes the most sense because you really only do need probably one of these, frankly, maybe 2. So you have the variety where you're hopefully getting multiple people trying multiple flavors if they purchase. That too is lower risk purchase, about $4 per can. I can try it. You're going to fucking love it, of course. But if I don't like it, no harm, no foul. I didn't just blow it on a 12-pack of all these flavors that I just don't like. And it's easier for consumers, but at the same time, it's really easier for retailers and convincing retailers like it's not going to sit in your fridge either. We're going to sell these. We're going to make it easier to sell these to consumers faster so that they like it. Or the market tells us they fucking hate it and we pull it and we move. And then you didn't produce 5x SKUs of all of these different products that now you're just warehousing, sitting on, and they're going to expire and you're going to have to throw out at the end of the day.
How do you create a memorable brand name?
Fucking brutal, to put it bluntly. It was so hard. We do a lot of naming. We do a lot of new to world brands. So we do a lot of naming already. It's hard. The initial name for this was Riptide. We were absolutely in love with it. We have specialist trademark lawyers because we do this naturally with clients and give them long lists of what the names could be and really do like a full naming explore, just how I described branding and how I described the process of the liquid development 3 rounds. We did the same thing with naming. We as Tavern like to put them all together so that you're really developing in lockstep all of these things at the same time. That's how Hyperblast worked too, just naturally, because as the planes fly, we're developing, we're rebranding the thing and the name's constantly changing because trademark lawyers are coming back being like, can't do this. Riptide was one of them where we loved it so much and we were like, how much do we believe in this name? And then how much do we believe in this product? Should we actually go and try and buy the brand Riptide, which I believe it was owned by a craft brewery, had the trademark on that. So should we go actually buy this product from them so that we can use the name? That does happen with a lot of our clients sometimes. If we really love the name and we really think that this is going to be a winner, it's worth purchasing the rights to the name. We are a bootstrapping startup and mostly a creative agency, so we're not willing to spend all this money just to purchase a name. Also, we want to develop the name ourselves. We really want to do all of this from scratch. So we just iterated it and iterated it. We were kept up at night. Our design team chat was just nonstop for months. People would be sending it in the middle of the night, be like, what if we try a Hyperloop or Hydroblast was one of them too that like we couldn't get through for legal. That felt really cool. It's like we'd do it, you'd send it, people would see it in the middle of the night, like, fuck yeah. We'd go, we'd change, we'd do pack ups really quickly and change it and be like, yes, this is going to work. This is awesome. Like we found an even better name. And then legal comes back and knocks it down. But it's really hard to land something again, because a lot of names are taken. Frankly, these fucking craft breweries have trademarked every goddamn name under the sun that I don't understand why or how this is possible. It's tough. So you got to get creative. And Hyperblast, our team liked, as we loosely started to roll it out, test the waters with some friends, colleagues. People were just like, what? A lot of people came back, they're like, that doesn't sound like a drink. And we're like, fuck yeah, that's why it's right. It's, again, going left when everyone's going right. Like, no, it doesn't sound like a drink. It sounds like something you just did on your jet ski. It's perfect. It fits in our world so good. But then you have the hyper, which does evoke the energy naturally. Going back to semiotics, we're literally saying energy without saying energy built into the name. That was strategic. Chai was doing the same thing. That rip is that energy, and the rip and the tide, it's the water. It's the literal world. And then the blast is the same thing, getting blasted and getting drunk. But we obviously will never say that once we hit market. But you also get blasted in the face with water, and it's like what the jet ski is doing. It's fun, it's evocative, it's fast. It cues all of those energy and alcohol moments, but also literally cues that we're trying to build in that kind of spiritual world that we want to live in.
What does it take to bring a beverage brand to market?
Yes, it's really developing the brand, the liquid, getting benchtop samples, and getting like a very tiny run produced so that we can go and we can test it with people, with distributors. That was kind of phase one, which you teed up quite nicely. But the phase two is really gets into the hard part. It's convincing people. Part of that is we launched in press to see how the market's going to react, which we got great response to that. So if that flubbed in press, we'd have to retreat, go back, retool, rebrand even, see why did that not work. So we hit it with press, kind of pre-launch language of we're launching in early August, get ready. Are you excited? See how the market ultimately reacts. And then simultaneously, we're taking that liquid, which is essentially a recipe we developed with Jai, and going to co-packers. And then they scale that recipe so that they can produce a larger run. So we're producing that larger run that will actually make it to the shelves. The reason why we needed all of those samples is because we're pitching distributors. So we need to get distributors on board and signed and get them excited. They need to taste the liquid. They need to be super stoked. They want to be selling this for you. So those are kind of the three parts of the next step. And the fourth one being investment. This costs money. We've been bootstrapping it to this point, but to make any beverage work on a large scale, you need a lot of money. So a lot of that PR work gets translated into investor deck work and investor meetings. So taking a lot of angel investor calls and even VC calls to gauge their interest as well. Does it fit into their portfolios? And ultimately raising funds so that we can literally blast this out to the world, because that's how you win. We can validate this in one or two markets, but truly changing the way that this hits the entire market of the US and it expands geographically takes capital, effort, and tons of work. And that's kind of this phase two, the validation phase, but also setting us up for success so that when we validate within a small single market, we can really expand and fucking go full blast. I was talking to someone, which is a potential investor type person who I was going over this with, and he was like, I really love this idea. I really want to prove to Wall Street that Gen Z still drinks. That's what I've been saying forever, is like, Gen Z fucking drinks. They just drink differently. And this is a perfect way of showing like the kids are all right. They're still drinking. They're still partying. And with some capital, we're going to really show the US that the kids are all right. The legal drinking age kids, to be very clear.